Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew-Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew-Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew-Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew-Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew-Built Conicals. You can trust Brew-Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew-Built at morebeer.com.
Afternoon, welcome to the session, or maybe it's morning for you. I don't know what time it is for you, but it's afternoon, evening for me, and we are back in the studio today with very special guests. You know, I've been working a lot on local breweries since getting back in the studio because I want more FaceTime. I want people in my faces and in the studio after a couple years of Zooming all over the world. So Mare Island Brewing Company has agreed to come in and hang out in the studio with us today. We've got Kent Fortner and Ryan Gibbons. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, good to be here.
Thanks for having us. We're actually, it's nice to talk to people without a mask and Zoom. So
right?
It's good to actually see faces.
Yeah, it's how I like it. And you know, one of these shows, let's be honest, it's going to bite me in the ass. I'm going to hear from some guest 2 days later, and they're going to be like, well, you gave us COVID. We hung out in your studio for an hour, and you killed us. But whatever. I think no one's dying from it anymore, and it's worth it to have some fun in a room with other humans.
I mean, people have died for less cause than brewing, and so I'd rather die for that, if
That's
nothing.
Right. What a way to see. Those are the things I say. Like, don't feel bad for me if I die for brewing. You know, what a way to go. We've also got my good friend Sully, my good friend and mentor Sully, back in the studio.
I have mentor status now.
You do, yeah.
It's great to be back. It's been a while.
I'm always happy when you come and co-host with me. Makes things a lot more interesting and fun, and I like having you.
I just got over COVID, speaking of COVID.
Did you really?
I licked this thing beat this thing for 2.5 years, and I went to Canada, of all places.
Oh.
And I probably at an H&M, don't ask, or an Apple store in Vancouver, Canada. I have the Canadian COVID, which is a kinder, gentler COVID. It's very polite. It's like, oh yeah,
right.
Don't you know it? And the exchange rate is great. So
right. But you actually, you've gone this whole time until now?
I've not had it at all. I've been around it. I mean, check this out. My son had it like late last year. I never got it.
Okay.
And then I went to Germany in May for a couple weeks and Austria, and, you know, flew on planes, trains, some automobiles, all that stuff. Never got it. I thought for sure I was going to get it. In fact, I had the test to come back to the U.S. when I was in Munich.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually tested positive on a PCR test. My group all tested negative, and I was like, oh, crap.
Wow.
Went back to my hotel room, took 2 rapid tests. They were both negative. I was like, I'm still a unicorn. I just was one of those people that just, it false positive. So I went like scrambling around Marienplatz there in Munich, finding like some sketchy pharmacies. So some person that didn't speak English and I didn't speak German would swab my nose and stamp a paper and send me off.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was negative.
Yeah.
And it was free.
Yeah. So it's pretty amazing that you made it that far.
Yeah, and so I mean, I just got over it just before I got here. No, I just got over it like I don't know, like late last week. But like we were saying earlier, and not to make this the COVID show because we're here with the beautiful people from Mare Island, is that it lingers. It's like that house guest that won't leave, that goes through your album collection, makes long distance. It just won't leave. Yeah. It's still here. It's like I'm negative, but I'm like I feel like I'm kind of there still.
And that's how I feel about it now, sort of in general, with how it is affecting everything. It's now just annoying.
Yeah,
I just find it very annoying.
And I got to tell you, if it was just a cold and not COVID, we would probably just go on with our lives. But now we have. I took like 6 tests.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had a cold, I would I got a cold, then I would probably go to work and give everybody a cold.
Exactly. That's what we did. If you get a cold, you share it.
Exactly. Damn it. That's what we're here for. That's what happens in retail.
You hand out NyQuil and you shut up.
Exactly.
About
Sully, I got to ask, did you sneeze on the plane?
I did not sneeze on the plane. There was no sneezing. I did wear a mask most of the time on the airplane.
Yeah.
So check this out. This is actually the Vancouver story.
Yeah.
So I'm up there for a couple of nights with my gal Gwen, and then we took the Queen Elizabeth, the ship Cunard line from Vancouver to San Francisco.
Really?
Underneath, and you're like, Sean, you don't look like a cruise guy. I am not a cruise guy.
Okay.
But I've always wanted to do this. I've done it twice now. I went a couple years back. I went from England to New York into New York Harbor on the Queen Mary 2. And when you roll in there, I wanted to see what it was like to be like when our immigrant, folks, our relatives, whatever.
You were having a Leonardo DiCaprio moment.
I was, but the thing about it, it's at a 5-star hotel. It's not like you're in steerage, where you're like with goats and all that next to you.
Right, yeah.
So I did the same thing on the Queen Elizabeth and the Cunard line. I'm not getting paid for this, by the way, but it's a fun experience. Yeah, it's a little bit of an older crowd. I mean, my girlfriend, I think, was the youngest one on board. Just,
17.
She's 17. Okay. Hey,
18, I'm sorry.
That
18.
was an old show from Pacheco days, probably.
Drink in Vancouver.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Legal in Vancouver.
That's why they went to Vancouver.
Exactly. We had to go to Vancouver, otherwise we would have.
Right.
Anyway, so you have to wear formal. I had to wear a tuxedo. So there's a couple of nights you got to dress up, and it's like Halloween kind of.
That's nice though.
Yeah, it's fun. You only do it. Some people are put off by that, but I liked it. It was like
Wait, so
nice.
You got it on the cruise?
No, I did not get it on the cruise.
Okay, because that's what everyone gets it from now.
I know. That's what I was thinking. But if I wind the clock back and do the deep investigation, it's like I definitely got it in Vancouver because of the time. Because I was only on that ship for 3 nights, and so.
Okay.
I got it, like I said, in a mall in Vancouver at an H&M or an Apple store.
I got it.
And you're like, what the hell were you doing in an H&M, Sully?
I know what you
I
did.
was buying cheap, cruise wear. I needed to get a full, sweatpants and hoodie, and I made her get the same thing.
2.5 days in a tux, you had to switch it up.
We had to switch it up. So, yeah. Absolutely.
That sounds like a great trip, though.
It was awesome. It was great. You also disconnect.
Right.
And you kind of get in that whole experience, you go listen to lectures. We didn't do that. You can go dancing.
What craft beer was on the ship?
So interesting you should say that because it's Cunard's an English company. But they and so they don't have a lot of craft beer like we'd see down here. So but they had London Pride, which is one of my favorite beers of all time.
Heck yeah.
And so I had that. They also had some Brewdog, but they didn't have any in stock. So so it really wasn't a lot of craft beer. I drank a lot of wine is what I did, and that's Justin.
Yeah, that's what you do on a cruise anyway, and maybe a cocktail or two.
Yeah.
Did it make you think about, what if 21A beers were available on this cruise? Does it make you want to reach out to cruise lines?
I mean, that's certainly a possibility. I mean, we just started exporting our beer to South Korea and Japan.
Nice.
But not really. I don't know.
Yeah. We just had a Japan show last episode. I had Rye Bevel come in here from the Japan
Beer I know
Times. Rye. Yeah. Oh, he says he's your neighbor now.
He is. I drive by his house every day.
That's great.
And I want to roll up and knock on the door and
be like, hey.
Yeah, we've hung out a couple of times. He's a great guy.
Oh, that's cool that you're sending your beer out there.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's with the Nagano imports. So guys, you should know that's it's a good outfit.
There you go. Yeah, if you need to get rid of some beer.
Anyway,
Japan.
Cunard line we should all do it at least once. It's fun.
It sounds fun.
And I got a cheap fare too. That was good. And I got COVID, so it's pretty much
wasn't that cheap?
Sounds like a package deal.
Package deal, exactly. Anyway,
they're just giving them away now.
There you go.
Well, I want to thank our show sponsor today, the folks over at More Beer. You know who they are. If you don't, go check them out at morebeer.com. They've been our sponsor since way back in 2005 when we started, and we just love them so much. I also love the new Komos line of equipment that they have. Check it all out. They've got kegerators, which I have in my RV at one of their Komos lines. They have jockey boxes that are real damn cool, like roto-molded jockey, like Yeti style.
Wow.
And have you seen these jockey boxes that instead of having the coils inside, plate chiller at the bottom?
Oh, yeah.
So I got one of those from them, too, because I just thought it was an awesome, I don't know that it would work great like at a beer fest if you're pouring a lot of beer through it.
Yeah.
But like
I
for
was wondering.
camping, because then you still have room on the top of that plate chiller for cans
You
and
can
stuff.
put, that's right, cans, exactly.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that. Anyway, it's awesome. You can go check it out. Go to morebeer.com, or you can click the links in the show notes of this very show.
They're doing a lot of good content, too.
Check it out. They really are.
Yeah, they're kicking it up. I mean, Chris Graham and his, I forget who he's doing it with, but they're just providing a lot of like great educational content.
Yeah, and they do Free Beer Fridays every Friday on their YouTube channel where they give away ingredient kits or equipment. I think they've given away some of this Como stuff. So yeah, it's pretty sweet. Good guys over there.
Excellent guys.
Go check them out. Also, you can support this show by hitting the PayPal donate button on our homepage. Just click that donate button. You can do it one time, or you can sign up as a subscriber, and it helps us. And those, some of you have been doing that for over 15 years, and we really appreciate it. So thanks for that. You can do your Amazon shopping too. Just click one of the Amazon links and then shop like normal. You won't even notice that I'm there spying on your shopping. But it's a great way to support the show with no extra cash out of your pocket. And of course, just support any of our sponsors out there, including the 21st Amendment.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, if you see one of my favorite beers on the shelf called El Sully, it comes highly recommended by me. So yeah, support our sponsors, and I'd appreciate that very much. If you want to send feedback about this show or any other show, send it to feedback@thebrewingnetwork.com. Okay, beer in my glass right now is Mariano Guadalupe Vallejo, which is a
Mexican lager. And I got to be honest, Sully, I didn't know you were here. I would have changed it up. The El Sully is like the Bay Area standard of Mexican lager. So I'm not only nervous, I'm also excited to have you enjoy it with us.
Well, I appreciate you being nervous.
yeah.
No, I love it. I just had a sip of this. This is delicious, gentlemen. I mean, great job. I mean, it's just a fun, refreshing beer. It's got some great nuances to it. I love it.
Yeah, some of the fun things that we all know through the pandemic, everybody's enjoyed more lagers and been able to play with them a lot more. So that was a fun one we came out with in 2020. It's 4.9%. Definitely the flaked corn is one of the things I wanted to make sure that it stood out in that. And we released that with our spring 2020 Yardbird Club.
Right.
We did a drive-through pickup. I mean, we did everything, but we really wanted to bring it back to the local area. So releasing a beer called Vallejo was just the right time. And can't not release a beer called Vallejo without it being a Mexican lager.
I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
It really is a great beer. Crisp, refreshing. You are right about brewers doing more lagers nowadays, which I think is a good thing.
It's a great thing.
And it's also, I think, because of consumers, sort of changing habits too. Of course, hazy is like still king right now, but I think people just wanting like a beverage on the lighter side,
well,
right?
I think once people were doing the Zoom at home, they could have a couple El Sullys and still get the work done. And
Or Vallejos.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting about that. So, what do you think? I mean, like obviously hazy IPAs and those variants of IPAs are really popular, but brewers, that's the kind of the dirty little secret is that we really like to brew lagers and we like to drink lagers. So, I think what's happening right now, what have you gentlemen seen? It seems like you're seeing them more percolate up. People are brewing more lagers. I've got a Helles in the tank right now. I've been brewing like a Schwartz beer. I've been brewing. We have a new beer called Coaster Pills. Blah blah blah. But it's just like those are just. It's just more interesting. I mean, I think as I age too, because I'm enjoying like lagers more than maybe I like IPAs, but still I'm like enjoying like a beer like this here.
Yeah, I'm like a one IPA and then mix in pale ales and lagers for the rest of it. See, to me, I don't know. I think there's this weird thing going on in among the consumers because it's this kind of weird conundrum. IPA and hazy IPA is still the most popular craft beer style, right? But it's being bought in droves. But at the same time, we're on a little bit of a decline of craft beer drinkers, and they're going to craft cocktails, canned cocktails, seltzers, obviously. I think even cider's kind of making a little thing here. So what I'm saying is it's odd to me that we're seeing this kind of market shift to things that are lighter like that.
Yeah.
Yet IPA over here is still the best-selling craft beer. And they're two completely different things.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I think it's like I think the consumer right now, and then what do you guys think? I mean, it seems like when the consumer just sees IPA, it's now ubiquitous for that's craft beer.
Yeah.
I want a craft beer. I want an IPA.
You must want an IPA.
Yeah, because there's so many different like variants of IPA.
IPA is now Kleenex. It's just the brand. You don't ask for tissues. You ask for an IPA.
Yeah. Your six pack is just an IPA now. Exactly. When you're going to a party on the weekend. But you know, as winemakers, that's where Kent and I started. You know, we came into this wanting to have nuance and flavor and malt to be a part of the backbone of beers instead of just a smack in your face, you know, hit you on the ass with a lot of alcohol and keep you going. Those are great, but how many of those can we drink? You know, I like to drink beer, so I want to have a couple of Ivy Bill's Pilsners or MGV lagers. It's something sessionable.
Yeah, but you know, in reality, when Ryan and I first started, we were like, we're not going to make an IPA. We're just not going to do it.
We wouldn't have been here if we did not.
Of course. When we started making one, and it was quickly 70% of our sales or something like that within a couple of weeks, and we're like, oh, you know, I mean, Ryan had this great background from Lagunitas, and so it made sense for us to jump into the IPA world. But you know, trying to be all about balance when everything is kind of about imbalance out there in the marketplace to a certain extent. And Ryan mentioned the wine world. You know, for those that know a lot about wine, you know, Chardonnay and Cabernet, and at one point there was a 200% oak Chardonnay that they used to make, where you'd put it in new barrels for a year, and then you'd put it in new barrels again for a year.
Wow!
And you'd release it, and they were trying to get them up to 16-17% alcohol. And it felt like that a little bit when we first started in. I have to say, I think IPAs have got more nuance. They've got more varied, and I just see a whole world like starting to dig deeper on different styles of beer at this point, which is refreshing to particularly guys like us.
So to speak. It really is refreshing.
Well put. Sorry.
I love
totally
it.
Pun.
Good pun.
So this is where brewers can actually sort of drive the direction. That's what happened, I think, with hazy IPAs. We saw like, hey, this is kind of new. It looks great on Instagram because it's you know, it's a head scratcher. This looks like I'm drinking orange juice or something, but it's this, you know, this sweet beer that has hop flavor in it and aroma. But I think as brewers, we can actually push the conversation to get people excited about these lagers that we're all talking about right now.
Yeah, agreed. You know, the one thing I kind of reversed into it where I wasn't a big IPA fan. You know, I do like nuances, but I've actually now kind of turned the page a little bit because just the breadth of what you can do in the IPA category is just so vast. That's what it gets a little lost sometimes. So it's almost, like you said, it's almost ambiguous to just say IPA now. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
It's funny because you said you don't like IPA, but you used to work at Lagunitas.
I like beer. I mean, that's as a first choice going to a bar.
Lagunitas will wipe the IPA right out of you.
You get enough with your paycheck, you know. All right. We're going to start a brewery. We'll do something different.
So how did you guys meet? I mean, how did this whole thing? You just said you're in the wine world. I didn't know that.
Fortner?
Well, I have my own little wine brand called Road 31 Wine Company. I make about 1,000 cases of Pinot Noir, and I've made it for...
What was it called?
Road 31 Wine Company. And I've had probably my 22nd harvest in that and 27th harvest overall of wine, so I still have it. And Ryan here was actually... I make it at a place called White Rock, and Ryan was actually the assistant winemaker at White Rock. So he was kind of in charge of babysitting my wine when I wasn't on site there. And we started up a very fast friendship. I mean, we really did. And a lot of mutual respect. And then we actually kind of lost direction there. Ryan went traveling all over. I don't even think I can keep track of it anymore.
Yeah, I'm 10 years younger than Kent, so I had a long way to get to my own wine brand. So traveled around the world, New Zealand, Australia, Bulgaria, winemaker at a small chateau in Bordeaux.
Okay.
And then came back to Napa during that downturn, and not many people were hiring even Davis degree winemakers. So, you know, I'm originally from Maryland, all the way out in Napa, California, trying to figure out, okay, why am I waiting tables when I could do this back in Annapolis or DC? So but everybody's always drinking beer. That downturn, you know, you can afford a $6 pint, not necessarily a $16 glass of Cabernet at that time. So. Right. Yeah. It was just a good transition into saying, you know, well, how about I figure out how to make this on a professional level? So,
in the meantime, my wife and I had one kid. We lived in Napa, and getting ready to have a second. My wife comes downstairs. She's like, "We need a bigger house," and I'm like, "Well, all right, I guess go find one." She went around Napa.
Go find one, honey.
She came back and she's like, "Well, everything I can find is like $1.4 million," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, that dog doesn't hunt. You know, that's not in our realm." So she had gone down to Mare Island. There's some new homes down in Mare Island. She came back. She's like, I think I found our house, and I'm like, really? I didn't think you'd really like newer homes. She's like, no. It was built in 1916. It hasn't been lived in for 22 years. It has some squatters in it. It's been completely stripped of the insides, but it's amazing.
Doesn't this sound great, honey?
And she said it goes up for auction on Saturday. And I was like, what do you mean auction? So I went down there and checked it out. Amazing home. If you know the Presidio, it's identical to some of the homes in the Presidio.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's got a long story that would take up the whole podcast, but it's when the call came in from Pearl Harbor, it was received by the guy who was in this house back in the day, which is super cool.
Before it went back to DC.
Right, before it got telegrammed back to DC. So anyway, I ended up buying this house, which was a boondoggle. And the city forefathers of Vallejo, which is Mare Island sits within Vallejo, came over and they're like, well, hey, we understand you're a winemaker. Would you consider moving your winery down here? And I was like, well, my customers, they're kind of wearing penny loafers and they like to see the vines and all these cranes on Mare Island. Like, I don't think that's going to go over. But I'll tell you what, my brewing buddies are going to be like, look at those cranes. These things are awesome. So I actually wrote a business plan for a brewery, kind of capitalizing on the history of Mare Island because this is a story that needs to be told. And so then the downturn hit, that sat on a shelf. And then I ran into Ryan, and I think it was Ritual Coffee maybe is where we connected back
Oxbow
up at Oxbow.
And Napa, and he said,
and I'm like, where the hell have you been? He's like, we got kind of caught up. I'm like, where are you working now? He's like, Lagunitas.
And you're like,
I'm like, what?
No kidding.
And he said, I said, how is it? He said, well, I love it. I love beer, but I wish I made a little bit more money and I wish I was working for myself. And I said, well, why don't you check out this plan I wrote?
Famous words.
Yeah.
And so we got together and put, the rest, as they say, is history, but we got together and put that whole thing together. And it's been a great, as he mentioned, he's 10 years younger. Best advice I'll ever give anybody if they find a partner for business, find somebody 10 years younger or 10 years older because you bridge a whole lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. So, so you have this business plan. You guys meet up. And what year is this? And what year does Mare Island open?
So that was 2013. Okay. We started working on everything. The location, obviously, of the ferry terminal helped put things in motion. But the ferry terminal opened July 21st in 2014. So that's when we kind of our first retail sale, even though we had a couple wholesale kegs in town.
Got it. And Ryan painted it with leftover paint. And our original goal was a popcorn machine, a hot dog machine, and 4 beers on tap. And we had a goal of X amount of revenue that we wanted to get to in a year by year 3. And we got bum rushed at the door, and we hit that revenue within like 2.5 months, I think it was. And it has literally been trying to keep up with everything since.
That's really amazing.
Sean's shaking his head over here. He's heard this story. He's been a part of it.
Have I?
the instant success.
Is it that easy?
Yeah. Well, and let's back up and just let our listeners know a little bit about Mare Island too, because not everybody obviously who listens is from the West Coast, but it does have this incredible history as a military island, and it dates back even before, but to the name of the beer that we're drinking, right? Yeah. It was named by General Mariano Guadalupe Vallejo. Did I have that right?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
So General Vallejo was a badass. He had the Mexican land grant for Sonoma, parts of Solano, most of Napa, and he actually ran the Presidio for quite a while.
Okay.
And he had a town named after him called Vallejo in the mid-1800s, a little 4-block town. And he had all of his livestock, his belongings were there, but he, like some other people, preferred to live in Sonoma.
Okay.
So he asked to have his belongings or his livestock brought upriver and over to Sonoma, and they loaded up all of his livestock, and one of them was a prized white mare, was part of the livestock. And that barge that they were on capsized in the center of the strait, and unfortunately, everything was lost. All the livestock were lost.
Wow.
And the rumor is that the guy who was driving that actually tried to commit suicide that night because he assumed because he had lost the prize white mare of General Mariano Guadalupe Vallejo, the badass.
Yeah,
I'm adding the
he was in trouble.
He was in trouble. Well, it turned out there was a little island called Flat Island right across the strait. And the white mare showed up on that island, and they renamed the island Mare Island after that. So, the name comes from General Mariano Guadalupe Vallejo and his prize white mare.
Okay.
Yeah, when you meet that guy, that's a huge long name. I mean, does he just go by Sid or something like that? Like, 'cause it's
he preferred General would be fine.
Exactly.
Sir. You just say sir.
Yeah.
Internally, we could just call it MGV, and we get knocks on the door because we make sure the V, not a D, but MGV.
Yeah, of course. Nice. Okay, and so then the island it's basically has a history as a naval island, a naval shipbuilding island, all the way into the 90s, really. But important during World War I, important during World War II, and I think even built, was it the first or one of the first nuclear submarines was built there?
We built it's either 7 or 9, depending on who you talk to, because they built part of 2 of them, of the 41 for Freedom, which are the nuclear submarine fleet. And we know a number of people who served on those submarines, and we make a beer called the Mud Puppy that's named after one of the submarines. We know these people really well, and it's
wow.
Mare Island is. It started in 1854. There's 500 ships that were built on Mare Island between 1854 and 1996 when it was shuttered, and there was 10,000 more that touched the shores. You can't. The impact of Mare Island is global. It's absolutely.
I was going to say, you said the listeners are countrywide. I mean, that's the thing. Somebody listening is going to know their uncle or their grandma worked at Mare Island during the heyday. We get calls from Connecticut of somebody asking for a T-shirt for their favorite uncle that served here in the 70s. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, and I see that hydraulic sandwich looks kind of tasty. I'm a beer guy. Can you send that too? And we're not advertising in Connecticut. So just the Mare Island search has really, helped out.
And I think from our end, like we thought this is super cool history, needs to be told. It's an amazing way to put on a beer label and kind of have a theme around this stuff. We honestly didn't know that there were this many people that sort of the diaspora, if you will, of 50,000 people that worked on Mare Island in World War II, people who were married there. It was the premier prosthetics hospital in the United States back post World War I. So all these people have stories of their great-great-grandfathers getting a fake left leg and their grandmother getting a fake right leg and getting married on Mare Island and all these just crazy stories. So we have this...
Those fake leg romances are amazing.
Yeah. Is your tap room decorated with weird prosthetics by chance? I haven't been there, so I'm just curious.
I got a sneaking suspicion after this. Somebody's going to send one to us. Because that's what happens. Yeah. Somebody cleans out their closet and, and it's like, oh my gosh, we found all this Mare Island memorabilia, which is amazing and cool stuff. We go through it. Yeah. And then after a while, you're like, man, this is just going to look like the Roadhouse bar and just all the spaghetti's on the wall, and it's not going to make any sense. So, as winemakers as well, we're trying to bring a little curation class in history to the space as well. So, there's a way to do it, and then there's a way to do it a little bit that's gives people something that they have to even search further once they leave.
Sure.
There's no way that in our spaces or even in the back of a beer we can sum up 142 years of American amazing history.
No, but it does give you a great opportunity to have some sort of identity behind each beer too, right? Because you do now get to kind of pick and choose from this history.
Yeah, so, and we make the joke all the time. If this was Kent and Ryan's Great Brewing Adventure, nobody would care.
Yeah.
We're not that interesting of guys.
I mean, I would care, but you're right about everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, you need to have a story. I mean, that's the whole thing. A unique selling proposition, and then you capitalize your local history there. So it's almost like it was written for you.
Yeah, and I would actually even take it one more step further, which is that it's a mantra for us. It's a reason for existing. It is. When we first started, there were World War II vets that would sometimes they were in wheelchairs. They come wheeling by us and talk to us about the history of Mare Island. Well, all those folks are gone. I mean, they just reached that age. And I have the honor of being the president of the Mare Island Historic Park Foundation, which kind of stewards the history on Mare Island.
Wow.
And we're desperately trying to get oral histories and all these things down because as these people pass on, that's it. And I think, for me, I'm 52. Anybody from my age younger, I don't think quite understands what happened in the world and the sacrifices that were made. I mean, Mare Island, this is not something you usually talk about when you're in a beer show, but like it needed a lot of cleanup, like an environmental cleanup, because it was a naval base and everything else. But you know what? They thought the freedom of the world was at stake at that point. So building codes and things like that.
Yeah,
we were trying to save our lives. I mean, we have bunkers on Mare Island that were built within 2 weeks after Pearl Harbor because they thought for sure the Japanese were coming ashore right at Mare Island right afterwards.
Wow.
So like what happened there and the sort of sense of freedom that we take for granted, I think it's palpable on Mare Island. And it feels like a mission of ours to go out there and try to package this. And I use that pun lightly, but to package this into something that people can read, get interested in, and follow through on a little bit to commemorate that history. So it's, I don't want to overplay this, but it's a big deal to us. And I think our staff really.
I'm moving there right now. I just, just put my house on.
And I like that you point out too, that people your age and younger don't really know about it. And the thing is, it's not that they or we don't know it per se. We don't know enough, but we certainly maybe have never internalized it like the generation that just passed, like you're saying, like these World War II vets. Like, I mean, that's obviously something much more real to them than it is to us. So I do love you taking this opportunity that maybe I can now even internalize the story and touch it and feel it and smell it by going to your tap room, by being on the island. I'm sure there's other tons of historical locations that people can visit on Mare Island too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I really like that.
I mean, when we started, the responsibility was big to make a great beer and to really do some good things in Vallejo, but it has just grown beyond whatever even we want to do. Like I said, the responsibility of that history has just been so important because the world these days and the younger generation, everybody's so quick and TikTok and how can the Snapchat go away or whatever. And the thing that's getting lost is history and that oral story. And so we can all agree. I mean, hell, we're sitting here talking over a beer, and so you capture an audience, a younger one, over a beer. They turn the can and they read a story. Then that can carry that generation on. So, I'm not trying to be so holistic, but it becomes more than the beer, and the beer is a fantastic widget to do so many things. But if we can actually impact and be something within our own community that actually has inspiration to, because Mare Island, what was the reason Vallejo was so great, during these times? It's also when Mare Island shut down, the reason why Vallejo is still in a downturn trying to come out. So the way we see it is Mare Island can be the reason it comes back all the way and kind of full circle, using Mare Island's history to kind of help let everyone in the community and outside in the Bay know why Vallejo and Mare Island actually is super important and a really interesting place to be.
Yeah, and can be even cooler.
Yeah,
and more.
Interestingly, it actually gives us a way of having a frame around the brand and the story we tell that almost makes it a little easier. It's so deep, but it's all about Mare Island. So Ryan and I'll sit down and be like, hey, we're going to make a red ale. Let's talk about a name. I'll go down to the museum. We'll flip through things. We're like, hey, Google red under Mare Island. We'll come up with stuff. There's 1,000 stories and they're absolutely fantastic. And so
we talk about commies on Mare Island, like there's just all kinds of things. Which way do we go?
Can we start talking about commies on Mare Island? That's amazing. Well, I actually want to, this is a perfect segue because we do have a red ale to try. So we're going to take a quick break so you can hear some wonderful words from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Mare Island on the session. Welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We are still with Ryan Gibbons and Kent Fortner from Mare Island Brewing Company. That's in Vallejo. And we were talking before the break about a red ale. And in our glass now we have their, I think it's Benny Suggs Red Ale.
The Benny Suggs Red Ale, yeah.
Is this another figurehead of the Mare Island history?
So what I've heard over time is that many people were Benny Suggs, or somebody's uncle was Benny Suggs, but the story behind that, who's Benny Suggs, Fortner?
So that is short for Beneficial Suggestions.
Okay.
And there is a woman, she can't be over 5 foot, who is the sort of historian at the Mare Island Historic Park Foundation at the museum. And we went in there to her and we said, we're making a red ale. And I said, well, this is how we're making it is we do this thing called Brewers Boot Camp, which is a cool thing that Ryan does, where we take some of our Yardbirds, which is our beer club members, and they come in and they can brew a beer. And not only do they brew a beer, they help decide the style. And then also we take them through, this is how we name things. And so I was telling Joyce, I'm like, hey, we're trying to get something related to red, but it's actually our beer club actually came up with this. And she's like, oh, it's just like a beneficial suggestion. And I'm like, what's that? And she's like, well, we actually called it Benny Suggs. And I'm like,
now we're getting somewhere.
And so the Beneficial Suggestions Program, anybody who's was in the Navy in the past probably knows about it, but you can basically put something in a suggestion box, and if they accept this, they'll give you a gift card. Or Joyce told me a great story. There's a big building 680 on Mare Island. It's massive. They used to build submarines in it, and it was open at both ends, and the wind would just howl down that thing. She put in a suggestion to drop some plastic curtains in there to keep the wind from blowing her papers everywhere when she was going around, and she got an ashtray. That was her thing for getting the beneficial suggestion.
She didn't smoke.
Yeah. Amazing.
And so we named it Benny Suggs after that, and the Yardbirds who brewed this just absolutely went bonkers. They absolutely loved it.
Yardbirds, you said, is the name of your club?
That's the name of our beer club. That comes from, if you were a civilian on Mare Island, which was the majority of the people on Mare Island, the military folks would refer to you as a shipyard bird or a yard bird. It was not the most complimentary thing to say to somebody, but we have embraced that. And if you join our beer club, you are a yard bird, and you get invited to Yardbird parties. There's the Brewers Boot Camp. We have all these different things we do for the Yardbirds.
That's like great. You guys have such great marketing. I think that's perfect. I know it comes from history, so it's not just a gimmick. It's really, I like the meanings are fantastic.
I think that's the easiest thing is the authenticity behind it. It's I mean, this is kind of off topic because I don't have the beer here, but the Survivor's Tale Pale Ale we do is in honor of the USS Indianapolis, which was the largest loss of U.S. sailor life in open water still to date. It was a famous ship that its last overhaul was on Mare Island during World War II. They got everybody on the boat and went out to Hunters Point and picked up a secret package that not even the captain knew what it was. Raced out to Hawaii and then to Tinian Island and dropped that secret component off, and then was torpedoed by a Japanese sub where 1,137 were on board, 813 hit the water, and 317 were rescued.
5 days later.
5 days later. Most of them were eaten by sharks. This is the Jaws story and everything. we're opening the tap room, and I get a phone call out of nowhere where this young lady says, "Hey, I don't know if you know, but the Indianapolis story, and this year's the 69th anniversary of it, and I'm the daughter of one of the survivors, and we're doing San Francisco as the theme this year." And this was 2014. And we hadn't even opened the tap room yet, and she wanted me to send beer to Indianapolis.
Right.
So, that was just not going to happen, but we had our logo pint glasses. I shipped it out to them for that. They ended up having Anchor Steam in it for the San Francisco Bay Area, so that was nice. But from there, we created a beer called the Survivor's Tale Pale Ale because I created a relationship with this organization, and we now have a beer that continues to tell their story and how the Indianapolis was on Mare Island.
Wow.
To where we've done a documentary release on Mare Island, where a filmmaker's over 10 years got all of the history that was still alive. And she did releases around the country, and we did a 2-night event on Mare Island in the old museum, donated all the money back to the Angel Gwynn Foundation. That is a scholarship for anybody of the survivors. And from that, I've now been an honorary survivor of the Indianapolis. And my dad's a huge naval history guy, and like when she first said, "Have you heard of the Indianapolis story?" Like just like right now, as I'm telling it, the hair on my arm stood up because there's so. Just getting to the point all the way through that tangent is, we couldn't put this on a business plan and have that authenticity. That phone call was just an answered phone call, and to be able to honor and tell that story is just incredible.
And well, you're right that you can't make it up, and you can't really plan for that, but you did plan to have your brewery in that location and be a part of the history, because you could have just opened any old brewery. They probably were happy to be renting space to somebody, right? But you did make that like active choice that, well, if we're going to do it here, we're going to really be a part of this. So that's what I really like about it, and it does then come with authenticity. The beer is fantastic.
Thank you.
What a great red ale.
It is. It's spot on. I mean, it's like hits all the points exactly.
Yeah,
bitterness is there, malt's there. Nice crystal sweetness, but it's not overpowering.
Thank
the
you.
aroma is there. It's really nice.
I got to say, this is one that I think I actually, I don't mind saying, I think I stole from Jameel when I was doing, doing some research. I saw, and I just want to say it from that, but the hint of chocolate malt in there is the thing, that small percentage in there, and I sprinkled a little in, and you don't know it until I say it, but once it's there, and it's just a nice finish that I didn't expect would really tie it together. So thank you.
Yeah.
What did you do as far as water treatment? Do you do anything?
So we reverse osmosis and then build back in the mash tun. So just build salts back in. Nothing too aggressive.
I can tell you a funny story. When we started the brewery itself, we were doing water testing as you should.
Yeah.
And we got the water test back, and like Ryan, we kind of talked it over. We figured out our plan. This is how it's all going to work, whatever. And then we had bought equipment. We were starting to install. I'm like, let's run another test on the water, just kind of make sure. We run another test on what comes back almost opposite of what we did the first time. Go down to the water department. I'm like, hey guys, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, well, we're Vallejo. We have these amazing water rights. Vallejo has 3 times more water than they use. They actually try to sell their excess water because they've been around so long. But they have 3 different sources. They have a subsurface source, they have a lake, and then they have the North Bay Aqueduct. And I was like, so they're coming from different sources? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, so how are we going to know what's coming our way? And he's like, I don't know. Some days at like 2:00, I'm taking this source, and at 2:30, I'm swinging it over to here. And so that was I don't know.
And we don't know how far down the trunk line we are. So
yeah, I can't remember.
And the brewery's already built at this point. You're saying, right?
Built. And so then it was like, well, Ryan, we need to buy one more piece of equipment and get this reverse osmosis put in here. Ultimately you kind of want it and need it to make the brew you want to brew anyway. But when we were rubbing 2 nickels together and that's all we had, that was kind of a brutal.
Is that because of what was going on the island that they had those water rights in place?
I'm sure.
Because that's kind of very unique in the Bay Area. I mean, most of our water comes from, Hetch Hetchy or lower dams. It's all snow melt. So, I mean, and occasionally we get it from the Delta when it gets pretty dry, which is probably will this year. But that's interesting.
Yeah, it speaks to how long Vallejo has been there and the power of the federal government to have a Navy base there to make sure they've got everything they need as they're growing, et cetera. But there's some laws against selling water, but that's one of the things that they're trying to do because we actually have tons of water rights.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
Wow.
Yeah, where does it go if they don't sell it? I don't understand.
It's you're not supposed to be able to sell it. The state actually just takes it back and then they sell it.
Of course they do. Yeah.
Oh, you don't need it? Okay. I'm just going to take it back.
And you'll never have it again, by the way.
Your water, tell it's our water.
Yeah. You always got to spend your budget, whether it's your budget or your water budget.
But it's always super quality water. It just happens to have a different, hardness and different capacity.
Well, you have to have the reverse osmosis because you just can't predict it.
Exactly.
Yeah. When we used to, he's not there anymore, but crazy Colin Kaminsky, the mad scientist who was at Downtown Joe's for years, and he was on the show several times. But
I know Colin.
He
was on his show.
Yeah, yeah,
on his show.
Yeah, that's right. He did that show in Napa too.
Yeah.
But he was saying at the brewery there a similar thing. He never knew what water he was going to get, so they must have been getting it from multiple sources right in downtown Napa too. Yeah. And so even his tiny brewery had to buy reverse osmosis at one point because he couldn't predict anything.
So I would never thought of that.
Yeah,
in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
How do you predict that one?
Yeah. But I love this beer. And if you're gonna do a classic style of beer, which I know you guys really enjoy, Jamil's the guy you steal from. Yeah, he's the classic style guy. Yeah. He wants you to steal from him.
It's one of the things that I don't mind admitting. Home brewers have the best ability to try all the things that I don't need to try. And so, and I'm not saying that was Jamil, but I really like to look at a broad spectrum of what's in the red ales aside. And so you really get a lot of understanding from the home brewers, honestly, about
I agree.
You already tried that, okay? Oh wow, that chocolate that actually sounds kind of interesting. I don't have to brew through a full 6 batches to get to that interesting point. So
right.
That's been one thing that's been super great about the home brewers is really leaning in and seeing what you guys are doing out there.
Absolutely. Do you use one yeast across your ales, or do you pick and choose depending on the style?
Mostly, most of the ales we use 001 White Lab. It's the California ale yeast. It's clean. It's pretty replicable. We can get it whenever we need, and it's even if we run out, there's a local brewery around for sure that we can get it from.
Scoop it up.
Yeah.
Because this has some nuances that I thought maybe you'd have done in English yeast, but you've just done that all with malt.
Yeah, just some malt in that. Yep. Definitely leaning in on the Maris Otter, so that got that good heavy background in there. Yeah. Munich, of course, a little caramel, and then, like I said, just finishing with a nice little sweet chocolate.
It's nice.
Yeah. I did do Summit, Centennial, and Amarillo in there with just a hint of Cascade. So
nice.
Yeah, it was a fun little one to write, because all of these beers are just classic in style. You don't really have to mess them up, or try different things. You just really got to get all the components right and check I hate to say check the box, but make sure that the Benny Suggs was right. I'm doing right to the Yardbirds.
Absolutely. So, yeah. That's such a great name too. Yeah. I really like it.
I was trying to, have you ever, can you do a Jamil impersonation?
I can't.
I was like, well, he was like a lot of,
you can use a little.
Yeah, a little bit. You're going to have to pay me some money because what you said.
Yeah. Jamil's going to be on the show in 2 days, as a matter of fact.
Oh, is he really? Wow.
Yeah, a little, I don't think he's going to be able to tell me everything. He's probably got confidentiality agreements or something, but we're going to talk about buyouts and things like that.
I'll leave a $5 bill on the desk here for him when he comes for that little tip.
There you go. Yeah, you didn't get bought out yet, did you, Sully? You're not gonna not give me the scoup, are you?
We are not. We have not been bought out.
Okay,
but we have.
Because if I read the paper tomorrow,
well, how do you want to handle this? You want to call you in the morning, like the night before it happens?
Yeah.
Hey, remember we had this conversation on the show with the guys from Mare Island? Well, guess what?
They're buying us.
They're buying us. And I got a big house on Mare Island.
Right.
I'm calling you from our private.
Out of it. Yeah.
I'm calling you from the private jet.
Yeah. All right.
It's called 22nd Amendment.
Yeah. The new brand.
The new brand. Yeah.
So, Mare Island was naval, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, like through the 90s. So, into the Cold War, into the end of the Cold War, even.
Correct.
And there's this one story. It's on your website, so I'm not some genius researcher or anything. But
just leave that part out and just sound like you knew it all along.
Yeah. About this top secret submarine. Is this what everybody wants to know about?
No,
this
it's one of my favorite.
Okay, good.
It's one of my favorite beers too.
This top secret submarine mission to the waters in Russia.
Correct.
What was the submarine called? Or the mission?
The mission was called Operation Ivy Bells. That was the secret mission. And I got to tell you, it happened in this building. You can come down, we can show it to you. Called the Pink Palace. It's pink because there's iron oxide paint on the outside of 10 layers of mesh, metal mesh, to avoid any detection through the walls. So, the Cold War is the precursor to the CIA. There's a precursor to the NSA. And on the board of the foundation that I'm on, there's 2 guys that actually worked in this building, and it has a sign over it that says Ocean Engineering. And that was the front for what was going on behind there. So there's a gentleman or an admiral named Rickover. He's kind of famous for being the father of the nuclear navy. And he had postulated that between Moscow and the main naval base, there had to be a communications cable that went down underneath this sea. I can't pronounce it. And popped up the other side.
Yeah, I was trying to pronounce it too. I just gave
the
up.
Russian Sea.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
they plotted all this in the Pink Palace there on Mare Island. They sent a submarine over. My understanding is only 5 guys on the submarine knew they were going because there's no windows on a submarine, so they didn't know.
Sure.
They're in Soviet waters in the middle of détente with the Soviets. They're not supposed to be there. They go around the outside of the sea with the periscope up, looking for a sign in Russian that says "Warning: Cable crossing here." That's what they were looking for. They find the sign. They trace the cable on the submarine down to the deepest part of the sea, which is 400 feet deep.
Yeah.
They eject 2 divers and a piece of equipment that was built back in ocean engineering. They strap this thing onto this cable. The Soviets thought this cable was so secure where it was that they didn't encode anything that went through that cable. And for 9 years, we sent a submarine over every 6 months and swapped out the recording device, brought it back to Mare Island, transcribed everything out of Russian, and sent it back to the Pentagon. And the claim is that Reagan used to read these readouts himself because it would let him know as he was putting pressure on the Soviets, how were they reacting? Were we pushing them to the brink, or were we pushing them to the brink of disaster? Were they about to fold, et cetera?
Wow.
It's this amazing thing. And just fast forward to bring history to light, we're building out the Coal Shed Brewery, which is where we built our brewery. And the electrician who works for us, he's kind of an older gentleman, or not older, but he's old enough to do this. He was on one of those subs.
No kidding.
And he was one of the radio guys. So he was one of the 5 on board who actually knew what was happening back in that day. And there's this amazing book. It's called Blind Man's Bluff. And it's written about this whole thing. It's all classified information that the book wrote. And what's crazy is I go and talk to the guys who are on the foundation board with me, who worked in ocean engineering, who worked on these kind of projects.
Wow.
And they're like, we're not talking about it.
No kidding.
And I'm like, what do you mean you're not talking about it? I just read the book. And they're like, but it has not been declassified to me. And so I'm not talking about it.
So what was the name of the book again? I'm sorry.
It's called Blind Man's Bluff.
Okay.
And it opens, you'll love this. It opens with a scene. I mean, it's perfect for a movie of a drunk sailor in a bar called the Horse and Cow, which we also make a beer called the Horse and Cow, which was the submariners like dive bar. Google it.
That's
on
where the debauchery.
Google it on YouTube when you're not at work sometime. That's all I have to say. All right. So the Horse and Cow, and there's a guy in the Horse and Cow, a sailor who knows about this whole thing, hammered, calling the White House to congratulate the president on what an awesome secret mission this is, because he's so hammered. And the White House is calling the captain on the island of Mare Island saying, you need to get down to the Horse and Cow, drag this guy out of the phone booth and tell him to shut that, up.
Yeah.
And that's how the whole book starts. And it tells the whole story of this thing. And it's an amazing, I mean,
wow.
I could spend another hour telling you all the details on this, but
Let's
that's
do
the
it.
gist of it.
Right, Sully, yeah.
So we make Ivy Bells, and on the label of Ivy Bells Pilsner, which is actually my favorite beer, the ones we make, quite frankly, is a picture of a diver headed down to address this.
Holding
a cable. Device.
I have seen that logo. I've seen the can, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing.
Yeah,
Wow.
and you can come see the Pink Palace. It's sitting right there.
Okay.
She's there.
Yeah, we've been in. Ryan and I have toured through the insides of it, and like I said, half the stuff that happened on Mare Island we may not even know because it's super classified stuff. But Cold War, everybody thought, oh, Sleepy Mare Island, there's only like 3,000 people out there, whatever. They were doing some crazy stuff.
Absolutely. And I feel like such a dope because I've known about Mare Island, but I just, very little idea about the actual history. And especially, when you hear shipyard, you're like, okay, I get it. Like we made ships for the war. But to find out all of these other nuances,
I mean, I'm also fascinated by like facilities like that have been that aren't up and running anymore. There's just remnants of it. So anytime I go to Alameda Island, kind of down by Faction, all this, I'm like, you see these huge hangars, and like and this where they're there's a place where they're like repairing buses that has the sound door. It's like giant. It's just wild what they're using it now for. But the history of that place and your place is just phenomenal.
And I love this
just to be able to like poke around and see break into a building, and I mean, I don't want to do that, but I mean, just to see, like,
it happens.
Yeah,
I bet it
is
does.
that dive bar still around?
No, it is not. It's actually it was a family that opened bars close to shipyards, and so apparently there's still one in Hawaii, and there's one
Guam. I think it's
Guam, and one in Seattle, or up in Portsmouth, where that shipyard is. And so when we came out with the Horse and Cow, they caught wind of it and saw it.
Oh.
And they wanted us to, of course, ship it up to Washington.
Oh, really?
Oh, right.
So,
they didn't say don't do this?
Yeah. That's what I was waiting to hear, right?
I mean, that was
That's
the
what
first
I would have done. Okay.
Yeah, we could spend a whole show on trademarks, but that is we spend a lot of time
researching,
doing our due diligence,
yes.
and also reaching out to people and saying, we want to do this, we want to commemorate this. Are you guys cool with this? So that we don't surprise anybody on this stuff. Because particularly with all the stuff on Mare Island, a lot of this stuff, it just goes deep, and you don't want to offend anybody. I mean, that's something you got to be careful about, because you're trying to honor something, not
And as they say, history is written by those that write it, and we're not trying to write the history. So we're just trying to honor it.
But that's a real responsibility, and I could see your caution, because you don't want to offend anybody, step on any toes, or really, like, even you don't want to get it wrong. Like, you care about this history.
Correct.
Yeah. So there's a lot of responsibility there.
I mean, just that story alone, the process. So, Ivy Bells is a great name. We want to do a Pilsner. It's cold fermented. It's the Cold War. You kind of start, we sent, the building blocks are all around, and then next thing you know, you just have this amazing story, and at the end of it, you're like, damn, and that beer was good.
Yeah. Do you guys have a marketing team that helps you with this, or is just kind of you two cooking this up? That's what I thought. Okay. Well, you're doing a good
writes
job.
the label?
I wrote the original labels, probably. Ryan would then edit them, but we finally hired a marketing guy. He's killer. His name's Max.
Fantastic.
And he's a great writer, and he's hilarious. And so he's actually kind of taken up the mantle on probably the last 3 or 4 beers that we've written. Okay. And that's really fun, actually, to now just sit back and edit.
Of course. Yeah.
So.
Well, all right. And so let's talk about that too, because you guys must be busy. You now have 3 locations. So the original tap room is on Mare Island.
It's actually in the Vallejo Ferry Terminal.
That's right.
Yeah,
okay.
and that was kind of hard for me at first when we were looking at the location, but then when you get in, because it's not on Mare Island, but when you're inside of it, it's a 180-degree waterfront view, and all you see is Mare Island. So if we opened the first one on Mare Island, you wouldn't see it, because you just see the building next to you, but you really get the experience of the cranes and the old buildings. I mean,
dry docks.
Dry docks. I mean, heck, the dry docks are in operation now, so we get a big ship on the waterfront. I mean, it's just
there.
There's Instagram photos all day long.
And you brewed the beer there as well, or that was just a tasting room?
So we started by doing we had to do a small amount of brewing in there, but we mostly did contract. So we set up at Carneros Brewing Company. I had a tank that I owned there, and I had a key, and I gave them a check, and that's what we did. And so I did all the work through that. But we knew the Cejas that owned it from the wine industry. So that was just it happened that, we're wine guys and trying to open beer, and we're like, hey, these guys got a brewery. So kind of helped out.
Okay. So that's the first location. You have that for a couple of years before?
We just actually did our 8-year anniversary the 21st. Yeah.
And then the coal sheds on Mare Island, they stored coal for the steamships in the Navy, and they were built 1898 to 1906, and quickly coal became obsolete. They went to diesel fuel, whatever. So it became shipwrights, plumbers, et cetera. So these really cool old buildings that sit right on the waterfront right there. And we actually moved into one that's kind of a warehouse and an office, and it was just shy of a David Lynch movie. Like, the whole thing was really, a little spooky. And then the 2014 earthquake happened, and basically the ceiling opened up, and when it rained, it was like raining inside. And so we had to move out. And then I was at a party, and the developers of the island were there, and I overheard them saying that they were obligated to redo these coal sheds as part of the National Historical Landmarks. And so I saddled up to them, and I'm like, hey, how about we be your kind of cornerstone tenant? We'll design the insides, you guys handle the outsides, et cetera. I don't think they nor we had any clue what we had just decided to do. I remember the developer, when we got done, said, I could have knocked this thing down and rebuilt it 4 times for the cost of rebuilding the thing, but it's a national landmark.
Sure.
And
so that's always the case when that's what's happening.
And as we've said over and over, that's part of our mission. So we're super proud of that. But so we redid this old coal shed, and we have a coal shed brewery on the waterfront. You can see the ferry tap room across the water. The ferry tap room can see us. We actually rode the very first keg that we made at the coal shed. We rode it across the strait and delivered it to the ferry tap room.
Nice.
Got a great picture of Ryan delivering the beer right there. We have a rowing team that rows out in the strait and stuff.
Do you only communicate with each other through flashing lights?
And also pigeons. Carrier pigeons.
You have to have carrier
pigeons. We got a beer called Three Pigeons, because they did communication by pigeon on the island.
Wow.
Prior to radio, they did. They gave 3 pigeons to every ship that left Mare Island. And they were supposed to send one back at the mouth of the Golden Gate, 20 miles out. And the record for a pigeon, this is amazing, the record for a pigeon flying back to Mare Island from sea was 452 miles.
What?
That's over water. So it never stopped all the way back. So it was one-way communication back in the day for them to be able to say, here's what the weather's like and the swells are like, and we have an emergency,
whatever.
Confederates, pirates, whatever it has. But so Yeah, it was a pigeon coop on top of the island.
That's
before it was
insane.
radio.
Wow.
So yeah, we communicate via pigeon.
Yeah, I like that.
You guys have cell phones, though, right? I mean, you guys.
Yeah, we try.
I mean, you're wearing these leathers.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah, they tie the cell phones to the pigeons.
Exactly.
So they haven't figured out how to use them yet.
You were talking about we were talking about our Yardbird. We do these Yardbird parties twice a year, and we always try to do a contest during the Yardbird party. So people come in. We started with cornhole. And we realized how competitive everybody is with cornhole, and so we're like, let's do horseshoes. And we start coming up with wackier and wackier. So when we released 3 pigeons, we actually had a pigeon fancier, a pigeon guy, come down from Napa. His pigeons lived in Napa. And we released them on the waterfront, and all of the Yardbirds bet on which pigeon would get back to Napa the fastest.
Oh, wow.
And it was one of the best parties we ever had. It was actually during COVID that we did it, and everybody was sitting pandemically spaced,
right,
watching these pigeons take off. And we had that's when we first got Max, the marketing guy. And we're like, all right, Ryan, you take 2 pigeons. I'm going to take 2 pigeons. Max can take 2 pigeons, and we're going to write backgrounds on the pigeons. You can make up whatever you want. And we had like Kevin the accountant, and we had El Gordo, who used to be the Mexican champion, and all these different things.
Yes.
Anyway, it's been really fun to take like stuff like that, and then take it all the way through to just a ridiculous party where everybody learns about this.
And then at the end of it, we find out that the pigeon fancier, actually worked on Mare Island for 15 years, and he started his pigeon career on Mare Island by some guy teaching him how to
That's amazing.
care for pigeons.
If you come to Mare Island, you'll find there'll be some guy probably in his 50s, 60s, maybe 70s. You drive around Mare Island, there'll be somebody just staring at a building. And if you go up there and talk to them, they'll start telling you how they worked on the 3rd floor. There used to be a safe up there. They're wondering if that safe's still there. They still know, just whatever it is.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Do they offer tours of those buildings, or is it...
Not so much the buildings, just because of safety and liability issues and all that stuff, but every Saturday or 2 Saturdays a month, 1st and 3rd, the foundation puts on a group tour. And there is St. Peter's Chapel, which is the oldest naval chapel on the West Coast. It's amazing. And a walking tour of Mare Island. So yeah, if you look it up.
But aren't you a member of the Historical Society?
So I'm actually the president of the board.
He's the
board of directors.
Not just the president. I'm a member.
All I heard is you have keys.
Yeah, that's all I heard. Inside tour. He has a lead-proof suit he could wear. We can go into those buildings with that, right?
There you go.
There you go.
Can I ask you something on the business side? Because you were dealing with historical buildings, does that mean that the Historical Society or the government funded or helped fund the rebuild for the coal shed?
That would have been nice.
Oh.
No, I wouldn't say.
I would have thought that's why your ears perked up even.
No, they didn't fund it at all, actually. In fact, we had to submit all the plans.
I was going to say, so you had to answer to them, but with no real return.
We did. Although I will say this, that like because of what we did, it bought us a lot of bona fides in the community with the historical groups, with everything else. And so it's come back to us kind of tenfold in terms of what we've done. But no, it was not.
Because like you already mentioned how much more expensive it would have been than a building. It's also quite a large space that you renovated, right?
Yeah.
8,000 square foot. Yeah.
Okay. And you put in, what, like a 15-barrel brewery?
15-barrel brew house, yeah. I've got some 30s and 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time that you guys were not contract brewing. It's once the coal shed was built.
It was 2017 when we moved into that space. So, I did our first brew in June in 2017.
It's partner brewing, by the way.
That's right. I always forget that, Sully. Gosh, dang it.
It's all right. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. So now I haven't been there, and I'll be honest. And there's a third tap room that's in Benicia. That's the only one I've been to. So I got to get out to Mare Island. And I've been through the ferry terminal, but I think I was rushing for the ferry, so I didn't notice that you were there. But I really do want to come see the coal shed. I mean, it looks like a cool spot.
Yeah, we should get out there. I want to.
Yeah,
well, I'll
check out the island too.
If you've been on the ferry before, what was the name of that ship you were on? The Conch? What was it?
The Queen Elizabeth.
No, the other one. The
Cunard.
Queen Mary. The Cunard. The Cunard.
The Cunard.
Yeah, that's the line. But
so,
they have like
they might not have the 21A on there, but on the ferry you can get Mare Island Brewing Company beer on your way in if you're coming from San Francisco over to the ferry terminal. So next time if you miss us, you can at least get the beer on the boat on the way.
Yeah,
what a great plug.
Yeah, you
like the way you tied it all in there.
The problem was I didn't write Cunard down.
Yeah. But you figured it out.
Well, the only time I've taken the ferry is when I take it to the Giants games too. But perfect. I got to cry. I mean, it's not convenient. It's just a fun day.
Yeah.
Right. Because I can just
point of it.
Yeah. But it is a fun day. So yeah, I don't want to. So, but then the brewery opens, but not with a tasting room right away, right? You guys only recently, I thought, opened the or is it a restaurant there? What is at the coal shed?
At the coal shed. So we really, since they're so close to each other, the ferry tap room and the coal shed brewery. I mean, literally, I'm just trying to figure out I can shoot the kegs across the water. I just don't know how to catch them yet. That's how close it is. But the community
You
is
have a canoe, though, or something.
Yeah.
but
Just take the
it takes too long. Labor, wages going up.
Yeah.
But the
All I heard was wah.
there has to be a way.
Yeah.
But we didn't. It didn't make sense to open 2 tap rooms within eyesight of each other before the pandemic. And one of the things we really were able to lean into and have is a lot of waterfront space.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really just had the Coal Shed. It's a beautiful venue for events, private events before.
Mm-hmm.
And then pandemic hit. Breweries couldn't, we couldn't have people tasting unless you had food. The Ferry Tap Room was fine, but the Coal Shed Brewery, we used to just cater it ourselves or cater out. So we ended up buying a food truck. And so,
oh, nice.
Yeah, we decided on a Tuesday and bought it on a next Monday. So we got it done.
Wow.
And what we ended up finding out is I don't know if COVID helped it or whatnot, but maybe we were a bit wrong. It's a totally different customer between the two. It is the older crowd plus family crowd on the Coal Shed Brewery side.
Okay.
There's a lot more space to let the kids run around with the chalk, and over at the Ferry Tap Room is more the commuter, the younger crowd. It's kind of more hustle bustle. So we actually have 2 unique environments right on the waterfront across from each other that the community can actually celebrate the same thing, but in a different space and comfortability.
We also had, I think, was unique to a certain extent in the Bay Area was we could put 18 picnic tables out there, keep them all 6 feet apart outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the slightest hint that people could go back out and dine outside if they were pandemically spaced, we had it all right there on the waterfront. And Vallejo is legendary for having phenomenal weather.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of like, so then we kicked into all that and suddenly we had this clientele and we're like, wow, this is really working. So then we could go back to doing private events, but we'd have to kick everybody out of the tap room to do them. So then we actually built a little private event space right next door. And that's become you can do a private event in here, or you can do it in the brewery, and we'll flip the public over into this little private event space, which is super cool. It's called the Whaleboat Room.
Yeah.
And so now we've kind of got both those things going on over there at the brewery, as well as just that's where it's kind of the spiritual center of the company.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Don't you guys have a big cornhole tournament coming up or something, or did that pass?
Well, no, we do have our wholesale cornhole tournament. I mean, heck,
is that what I saw?
I was gonna say,
Okay.
You're one of our clients. You're going to have to bring some.
Maybe that's why I saw it. Maybe it was in my email for that.
Yeah, we of course we'd like to have you guys come back to the mothership and see the cool old dusty things.
Hey, we're pretty good at cornhole around here too. Team Hop Grenade might kick some ass.
Well, get your name on the trophy. So we have a trophy that I made. It's a piece of timber from the Coal Shed. It's it's a 100-year-old poplar on the waterfront's not going anywhere. The grain's just so tight. Cut that, and then we found when we were doing the redoing the floors, lumps of coal. I mean, literally,
wow.
I was like, oh, it'd be so cool when we do the floor if we see lumps of coal. And there was a strata down there where it was just
you're like, this isn't very cool anymore.
Yeah, well, it was cool. I mean, we had selfies. I called him down. I said, "Okay, check it out." And then after the 5th one, I was like, "All right, I got a box full of coal now." And, But I got this huge lump of coal, and that's our wholesale trophy. It's the wholesale. You come to win the lump, get your name on the lump, and if you want it, the lump stays here until next year. So
it does.
It's bragging rights. ABC
get
laws. I can only get you bragging rights, but
all right, we're gonna have to talk about this after the show. We might need to put together a team.
But with our Yardbird parties, that's where we kind of really do a lot of the fun parties and fun events. I mean, heck, we got a brew cruise coming up.
I saw that too.
Historic brew cruise. So
we'll be going out with we have 50 Yardbirds, and we leave out of Vallejo, and we take about an hour to float to Benicia or to motor to Benicia, and we tell history all the way along the way. And there's some really cool history told from the outside, looking down on Mare Island because you can't see it from inside.
I see.
And then we're going to dock in Benicia, which is about a 45-minute boat ride away. And that's where our 3rd tap room is that you said you had visited before.
Yeah.
Disembark, walk over to Benicia. We're doing a whole roasted salmon and
what did he say?
Was it hanger steak? I can't remember what the meat was.
Meat.
And then walk back to the boat and then do dessert and beers on the way back on the boat and do more history. So we do little things like this to try to bring more history to it and do some interesting stuff for the Yardbirds and stuff. And
that's great.
And that brings in our new location, Benicia, which is the smallest of all our locations and the newest, maybe a little higher end concept than what we've done in the other places. And that's kind of where Ryan's background was restaurants as well. And I had a background a long time ago in restaurants and it was more in fine dining. So that's been fun to do small plate stuff and things a little bit more so than the sort of run and gun, pint over the bar atmosphere that we all love. I mean, that's why brewing's awesome. But to do a little higher end.
What's your food concept out there?
So, I mean, it is just small plate, kind of small bites. So, we have our MIBC burger that's everyone just loves. And so we make sure to have that at all locations, but we have like a slider versions of that. We'll do nice cuts of salmon. We're doing a Calabrian shrimp dish. So really just gives. Our chef comes from Charlie Palmer, was his last background. So we've not that we've kept him in a little bit of a pub box, but this is a little place where it's like, all right, the booths have buttons in them a little bit. You can kind of juice it up a little bit here. So
nice. Oh, that's great. Well, let's talk about the beer in our glass now too. With another cool name, I can't wait to find out about. Hydraulic Sandwich West Coast IPA is what we have in our glass, and I do appreciate you bringing me a West Coast IPA.
Yes. Do they still make those out here?
They do. Hey,
they do. They're
I see all these New England things. I don't know.
If Hop Grenade has anything to say about it, we are supporting. We are in full support. I like this beer. Definitely a hop forward West Coast like it should be. And you are using crystal malt.
I am.
Which I'm going to commend you for. I've been having these discussions recently because crystal malt was such a no-no for a while, right?
Yeah.
I just had Liquid Gravity on the show a couple weeks ago, and I just love his IPAs too. And he's from that train of thought too. But it was our mutual friend Tasty that taught him, don't listen to the hype.
Yeah.
You got to have some crystal malt in there. And this is where you get like some actual balance again. Yeah. Now, it doesn't have to be crystal malt like the mid 90s.
Yeah, like,
right.
Okay. But it does have to be there.
20% like 80L.
Yeah. No. Don't get me wrong. But this is very nice.
Thank you. Yeah. So this was the hydraulic sandwich. We coming from Lagunitas, and of course, as we already kind of alluded to, we couldn't come out without having a good, solid IPA on the West Coast. I mean, no brewing company can't be based off of that out here. You flounder. So we're winemakers, though, and that's the thing is for us, that IPA was just so hop forward or alcoholic and smack you in the ass, and you're like, oh my God, I can't even eat anything out of this because my palate's wrecked. And we like to enjoy wine with food, so there's the ability to do that in beer, and certainly the IPA is a one that done well and with a nuance, it doesn't it can be this kind of nice middle of the road. And so we developed this one to kind of be the IPA that we can approach. And now the funny thing, I say that this has 7.1% ABV on it, but because more of that malt background, we want to have that interplay of the mouthfeel and work with the hops instead of, again, just jacking that ABV up and hitting you with all the aroma that can just deaden your mouth out.
Sure. No, you did a nice job.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't taste like 7% alcohol.
Yeah.
What's the crystal malt?
So it's C60. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I used Breeze C60 on that, and just I think only 25 pounds in a 1,200 or 900 pound mash. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's super small.
Yeah.
That's not pretty aggressive. Yeah.
No.
And that's what Liquid Gravity was telling me. It's not just a balancer, but it's kind of a lifter.
Yes.
In those small quantities, I think it immediately becomes for lack of a better term, a downer, a suppressor,
right,
if you get higher than that, because then it just gets so sweet, right? But it's actually serving to lift up not only the rest of the malt, but the hops. It holds
the back of that hop. Yeah, exactly. That gives you that mouth balance instead of the cloyingness that like you're saying, too much crystal can do.
Yeah.
So that the Three Pigeon IPA that we did, and that's more of my that was more of like a throwback '90s style. So that's more of the Cascade and more crystal in that. And it's so funny because you get some of the ones like, I haven't had a beer like this in forever, and so that's exactly going back to where IPA is just such a good thing to play around. But you can get lost in there if that's all you do.
So are you new school hops in this one? What's in this?
No, so Summit, Centennial, Amarillo, Citra, and Simcoe. So, and 90-minute boil. We're doing on the hydro 148, mash temp. So it's just really, really crisp, clean. And I'm not trying to sell the world out on it, but just trying to make sure that if you come for an IPA, that it's this ticks the box. And even if you didn't, you're like, wow, actually, I think I do like an IPA.
No, it's really well balanced. Yeah. It's really crisp, clean. It's not shouting in any particular direction, but it's all there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's good beer, solid beer.
Slight tangent, but I got kind of a question for Sully as we get into this.
Yeah,
it's like when we first started, this was because Ryan came over from Lagunitas, and we're trying to get hops for everything. We're just starting this brewing company. We just got going, and we're going out to start buying hops, and they're coming to us saying, "Yeah, you need to sign a 5-year contract," and they're talking about amounts, and we're like, "We haven't even started selling this. We have no idea whether this thing's going to sell or not." And I remember that being like one of the biggest challenges we had right out the chute was trying to make these decisions because those 5 hops, like 2 or 3 of them were actually really, really hard to get. I mean, that was like a daily conversation was like, Ryan, did you get any Simcoe? Did you get any Simcoe?
Right.
Did you get any Simcoe?
Yeah.
And I have to say Lupulin Exchange has changed the world a lot on that. But I didn't know like if they were taking us to the cleaners because we were new guys, or did people like?
Well, no, I mean, first of all, hop contracts. I was just actually talking to Levi Freed from Long Beach about this morning about hop contracts, because he's signing some contracts and had some questions, and I just kind of went off on this whole like rant, which I won't do now, but because you'll wonder what you did. No, like for us and a lot of craft breweries at the time when hops were hard to find, this is probably back like in 2014, 2015. I mean, they were like pressuring you to get contracts. And so you really, and we were growing 35% a year. Right. Now we're not growing 35% a year. Like a lot of craft is kind of like softened a little bit, even though it's, it's coming back around, as you talked about earlier in the show. So, so we signed some crazy contracts that we're still living with.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of craft breweries are doing that right. I mean, it's like insane amount of hop. If you need Centennial hops.
I do.
Or Cascade. So we were buying those hops. We made some really bad decisions. I bought some Amarillos at one point for like $22 a pound, which was like ridiculous.
Oh my God.
But what I would tell any craft brewer right now, I was saying like, pause. Don't buy. Typically, the way you buy hops in a contract is you buy 100% of what you need next year, let's say, and then the following year you buy 80%, let's say, and then the following year after that you contract it out, and then you top up, and that way you can adjust what you need. And so, what I'm finding right now is that because there's been a little bit of a lull, there's a lot of hops out there. I've noticed on spot markets like at BSG's website or any of them, Yakima Cheap, whatever it is, that you're seeing like almost some hops are even cheaper than what I contracted for. Mm-hmm. So I think that if you're a craft brewery right now, you should be like looking at those spot markets because they are available. Now, yes, there are some, sexy hops like in New Zealand, Australia, those hops are, you've got to lock those in. And the frustrating thing about hop contracts, as I told Levi this morning, is that you have to sort of plan your destiny in some ways.
Yeah.
So if you have I've got like plenty of Centennial and Cascade, and I have to use those hops up, and I can't bring in new world hops that are interesting. I mean, I'm doing it now, more of it now, because I've gotten out of all these contracts, and hop suppliers and farmers are working with you now on that. But I mean, it's like, I feel your pain.
Yeah. It's just made, I think a lot of people, they get in, we came from the wine biz, and what's interesting about the wine biz is you got to commit to this fruit that you're not going to make a wine that's going to be sold for 2 years. You know how it's going to be received. Supply is very inelastic, for lack of a better word. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, we're making beer, and if people like it, just make more. Mm-hmm. Like, this is crazy. This is awesome. But then we got hit with this hop contract concept. It's like, wait, I got to forecast 5 years out on something that I don't even know what I'm doing. And that was a real, I think it's one of those things that people, homebrewers, and they want to get in the business or whatever, they don't realize there's this whole complicated back end to this that you can just get yourself backed into a corner if you're not careful.
It's happening with grain now too. Grains because grain prices are going up because of all the cogs associated with that, and so you're having to contract grain as well. You have to contract grain. We do it every year. But I mean, I just think the saving grace is that don't get too much, in terms of hops. Top up. Do that concept of topping up, but don't get sucked in.
Well, you got to hedge both sides. Is basically you got to make sure you have some,
have a couple of suppliers, because you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
And make friends with the farmers. Like if you can get up to Yakima during harvest, like right now, it's about to start up there. In probably another less than a month. And you meet those farmers, and those relationships are great because you can actually buy direct in a lot of ways.
We sent Ryan right up to, I was like, go to the source, make some relationships. And so he went up and did a whole hop school up there and everything.
That's key, as you know.
Came back with contracts. No, I'm just kidding.
You walked in there. I got $5 million worth of contracts here. Wait.
We're doing this.
We were just talking about the cost of the hotel, not a $5 million contract.
We're putting Chinook in everything.
Yeah.
3 pigeons are going to steal the world.
That's a great question, though. And I've asked a lot of brewers that because I've always thought, God, am I just not very smart? How the hell do you think out 5 years? And a lot of brewers blow smoke up my ass. They're not honest like you just were. They're like, oh no, you just know. You figure. And I'm like, I don't know.
You don't know.
Especially as craft beer's been changing and it's been so dynamic, and there's a lot more new, experimental hops that just have numbers and not names. You talk to brewers sometimes like, hey, what you think about that HBC 586? And we know what we're talking about, and the consumer's like, what are you guys talking about? I have no idea. I mean, the passion fruit, stone fruit, it's just insane. It pops. 586 is the way to go. Like, there's nothing, because they haven't given it a name yet. So that's the thing. You just have to I just tap on the brakes.
Yeah.
It's true. So the kind of maybe bring it back to the name of this awesome beer.
Yeah, let's learn that before we got to take another break. Hydraulic Sandwich is the name.
Yeah, I love that name.
So I think that the funny part is this actually ties back to that Ivy Bells story that didn't come about until we made the Ivy Bells, the connection. But so when I was building out the Ferry Tap Room, we did the classic, we didn't want to do the butcher paper on all those 180-degree windows on the waterfront, so we had an old school architect, and literally it was maddening. But one thing we ended up getting,
awesome guy.
Okay, story there.
Yeah. Well, stencil paper. So everybody else is 3D CAD drawings and everything. Yeah. He's on stencil paper.
Right.
So anytime we got a new plans, we'd get the full on roll every time. So we had these rolls just sitting in the office that wasn't the corner of the coal shed that was a dusty ass place, but. So I was like, all right, well, let's put the iterations up so the community can see what we're, at least what the inside concept was. So, and I'd get knocks on the door all day long about, we're so glad you're coming. Well, one day I opened the door and the little lady Sherry's at the door. I'd say she's 5'2", probably late 60s, and she's just like, I just want to say, I think, the fact that you guys are opening a brewing company based off of Mare Island is just fantastic. She goes, I used to work across the water over there in that pink building. If I told you what I did, I'd have to kill you. And I said, I was like, ma'am, I got a lot to do today, so maybe let's keep the words tight and let's get this point.
Yeah. And
she goes, well, I got to say, we used to take the ferry across all the time, and we'd come over here on our lunch breaks, and a lot of us would have hydraulic sandwiches and go right back to work. And so a brewery based off of Mare Island is just so fitting. I'm so pumped you guys are here. And I was like, a hydraulic sandwich? I already think I mentioned I've been in New Zealand, Bulgaria. I've been around the world a little bit, and I'm like, I think I know I'm up on it. But so she just takes and I'm 6'2". I was like, she's 5. She thumps me in my shoulder. She goes, come on, boy, that's when you throw some beers back for lunch. I'm literally like, I'm like, oh my, I couldn't write it down fast enough.
Yeah.
And so, we get back to, and as we're trying to name these first beers, and we have the Saginaw Golden Ale was our first beer. It was the first ship built on Mare Island, and it's got a regal story. And then we keep going back to, you got to have a fun name in there, and it was like that hydraulic sandwich just kept ringing back.
It is a great name.
It's so good.
It was the thing, and I kept saying,
so it's a liquid lunch.
Yeah, yes. And I just said I just can't wait to be behind the bar, because of course I was running the bar when we started, and have somebody come up and say, I'll take a sandwich, and they're not talking a damn thing about food. They just want that IPA. And it was our refrigeration guy, the Wolf. He came in.
The Wolf.
The Wolf. Any brewers listening? Hire the Wolf.
Hire the Wolf. That's all you need to know.
What's your problem here? You got a cooling problem? Let's make this happen.
Yeah. You called the Wolf?
Go where I got Freon. I know it's illegal. I got Freon. It's fine.
We'll pump it right in. Yeah. So when the Wolf comes in,
the Wolf.
You got to meet the Wolf, by the way.
I don't know. Anytime a story goes with, and so then the Wolf comes in. It's like a Quentin Tarantino story.
Yeah. So the Wolf orders a hydraulic sandwich and completes the story. Well, Sherry had then became a good regular after a while, and so she was extremely proud that the hydraulic sandwich she had a part in that story, and she'd always come in and she'd be like, "Okay, I got another story for him." I'm like, "Sherry, could you just drink the hydraulic sandwich?"
Yeah, I don't have a name for every story.
And her husband was Pete, and he was a home brewer, and so. And he would make a beer, and he'd have a HP printer printed label on it. It would say "That Damn Pete Ale," and he'd bring it in. And I don't know if you get home brewers doing this to you, that they bring in their home brews to you all the time. And I akined it at that point to like what a music producer and mixtapes are. Yeah, I got a mixtape for you. Try this out. You're the new brewery.
Can you listen to my tape, please?
I'm like, I'm like, but the only thing is that tape's going to destroy my ears. I don't know what you did to that beer in my bar. But so Sherry and Pete, we're a long time and still are long time customers, but. When I found out and read Blind Man's Bluff, and I started to understand her story, and I said, all right, so Sherry, Blind Man's Bluff. I was like, she kind of just perked up, and I go, I said, is that story true? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I do know. I don't know how in the hell they published that thing. She goes, but I can't tell you anything in there. She says, but I'm still amazed that thing has been published.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
and again. We hadn't even thought of the Ivy Bells or gone into that, but now that we have the Ivy Bells as part of the story, we've been in the Pink Palace.
Yeah,
she threatened me with my life the day we started the business.
Right.
If I wanted to hear the story. So
I love it.
So then naturally we make a double IPA, and then I just had to call it the Nuclear Sandwich, which it means nothing, but that was some historical liberty because they did nuclear submarines on there.
Yeah,
if you're
why
going to
not?
kick it up a notch from hydraulic,
absolutely.
Take it to the nuke.
All right, let's take one more quick break, and we've got one last beer to try from you guys, and I believe it's called General Order number 99.
Yes,
a nice
I think there might be a story there. I'm not quite sure. I'm going to predict the future.
I promise there's a beer at least.
Yeah. All right, hang in there. You're listening to The Session with the guys from Mare Island Brewing Company, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to The Session. Thank you again for hanging out with us. We've got one more beer to try with the folks from Mare Island Brewing Company. And if you want to learn more about Mare Island Brewing Company than we've covered in this show, you can go to mareislandbrewingco.com, mareislandbrewingco.com. There's wonderful, handsome photos of these two gentlemen on the website. You can check out the breweries. You can find out where they are. You can learn about the Yardbird Club, which I think the beer we're about to try is part of what you get if you're in the Yardbird Club. Do I have that right?
That is right. I'm kind of wondering now, your show, but should we do beer or history first, the way we've been going on that?
I don't know. I'm honestly, I just want to say it from, zooming away out. This is like fascinating. Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of these shows. I'm an old salty dog. I'm playing into the Mare Island theme right now.
Yeah.
And you guys, this rocks.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like really good. I mean, this is.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job, and your story's great, and it's just amazing.
It is really great because
we're joining the Yardbird Club right now. I'm buying the book, and I'm going to join the club.
Perfect. Because what I've learned over the years with Sully is that every brewery does have a story, but not all of them are very interesting. And I've done a lot of shows, so this is really good.
I mean, just an anecdote for that one. When we first opened, some local brewery in the Bay Area had their sales team. They were going through and they wanted to stop at a brewery, so they saw that we were opening and got a hold of me and said, "Hey, can we swing by on Wednesday?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I'm going through and I'm giving them all of these stories and everything, and in the moment you kind of realize, oh wait, you guys have a story too, And so I go, "I'm sorry, what is your brewery name about?" And then he just kind of stops and he goes, "It's mine and my business partner's last name."
Yeah.
And that was full stop. And I was like, all right, so that helmet over there was Rosie the Riveters,
Right.
So, but yeah, like I said, if this was Kent and Ryan's Great Brewing Adventures, we're not that interesting. So,
Yeah.
You guys are pretty interesting.
Well, we've harvested enough things to make it seem interesting and put it in a can. So, but the General Order 99. So when, as winemakers, one of the things that, we love and enjoy is to age stuff. The one thing we don't like is to wait for it. But when you're doing beer, it's kind of nice to tuck something away and be like, oh yeah, we've got that nice barrel-aged porter going over there. So when we were starting, we definitely, this was always part of what we wanted to do, was a nice kind of high-end, nice package, cork and cage, barrel-aged beer.
Mm-hmm.
And as Kent already mentioned, he's got his Road 31 wine company, that project. And he produces Pinot Noir with some fantastic barrels, Kadar, from, you get them from Hungary.
Yeah,
Pinot.
From Hungary.
My ears just perked up, sorry.
And so, we have access to those barrels, and we started making friends, of course, as you do with distilleries, and started experimenting, and we found that, aging our Shipwright's Porter in Kent's Pinot Noir barrels and some whiskey barrels, and then blending it after the aging with maybe a little bit of the fresh porter, really made a really interesting beer here. I don't know if this is true. Maybe Sully can talk into it. But, what I find in barrel-aged beers is that, and now I know it because I've received them, is I feel like everybody just leaves that 1.5 liters of whiskey that they get in there and then just put beer on top of it. And in my opinion, that's a little cheating. You're really leaning in on the booze instead of letting the beer do the and letting the barrel.
Plus, it dominates it too.
It just becomes a booze beer.
Yeah.
And again, going back to we want nuances in the beers. I want you to be able to find some layers in there. I want you to find the whiskey. I don't want the whiskey to find you, right?
Okay,
up front. And so, it's just such a cool interplay. You kind of get like this little bit of cherry in there as well from that Pinot that kind of plays into it. And so this is, where we came up with this barrel-aged porter that is ages phenomenally. And as Kent was mentioning earlier, the bunkers on Mare Island, we actually have access and bottle condition this in a bunker on Mare Island. So
wow.
Kind of has some fun history to that. And then
but practical as well, right? Because it's perfectly temp stable. I would imagine.
I mean, I remember Kent got on Amazon one of those little temperature things that kind of shows you the high humidity and low temperatures. And I mean, it is wine cellar condition.
Just stays right there.
These are 1.5 foot thick cement walls with foliage growing over the top of them. They're bunkers from Pearl Harbor. And then we hired Jeff to do this welder to come down here, and he welded this door that like, I don't think Darth Vader could get through it. I mean, this thing is just.
I bet the wolf could get through it.
The wolf could get through it.
Jeff needs a new name.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can't tell us what went on in that building, too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, what a score to be able to have a cellar like that. That's really great.
And, we make our own wine as well that we sell out of our tap room. So it actually kind of works well. We kind of store our wine in there as well. But as far as the story goes.
How big can you tell me how big the bunker is in terms of souls? Ooh. Right? Because it was built to like to go hide in, right? So how many people?
I think they said it was 12 per one of them that could fit in there.
They're small pods, and there'll be like 12 of them in a row, and then there'll be another 12 over here, whatever. And I'll tell you, the nurses on the island talk about how they used to have to go do these drills, and there's no lights in these things.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And so the nurses would in there with all these sailors, and there was a lot.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it wasn't a pleasant experience for them.
Oh, no.
So they'll talk about that. But actually, in our bunker that we've got, it says, is it no girls allowed on there?
You can tell some kids in the 80s or whatever lived. It says no girls allowed, no smoking. Well, there was an actual sign that says no smoking, and it's sprayed over and says, yes, you can.
Oh my gosh,
so it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I've actually invited a few girls in there, so just to make sure, to say, hey, you're allowed it.
It's okay. Yeah.
But the story of General Order Number 99 is actually quite a fascinating one, considering alcohol and the island and what we do now.
So there's the Secretary of the Navy was named Josephus Daniels, Joe, and Josephus Daniels signed the General Order Number 99 outlawing all alcohol on Navy bases or within 5 miles of Navy bases.
Or within 5 miles.
To be produced within 5 miles as well. So there was the Solano Brewing Company that was within 5 miles of Mare Island that closed down. They were the last brewing company until we came in 1918, closed down.
Wait. When was 1918 is when this rule?
This question. No, I can't remember.
Just make it up. We don't know.
No, the order came out in 1914.
Yeah, okay. That sounds right.
And so then, as these roll out, it takes a little while. So the Solano Brewing Company was closed down in 1918, but Prohibition wasn't until
1920.
I knew it was perfect time to have Sully here.
Well done.
Out of the park, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
I'm going to leave now. I'm dropping the mic.
Thank you, Sully.
And it's a walk-off homer.
Yeah.
And so it was that time that closed all of this and closed the last brewery. The Solano Brewing Company actually turned into a malt ice cream, production at the time.
Wow.
And a lot of some people would say, no, it closed because of Prohibition. I was like, no, it was actually General Order 99 closed them down.
I see.
So we like to say that we have rescinded General Order 99.
Yeah.
There's one other anecdote to that, which is that you've heard the term Cup of Joe.
Yeah.
And that term comes from the Navy because suddenly when General Order Number 99 was signed, coffee became the strongest drink on the ship, whereas before it was all sorts of things. So to raise a cup of coffee and to say a cup of Joe was actually kind of giving the bird to Josephus Daniels, the Secretary of the Navy at the time.
Do we have some background of like why this was
story?
Have you ever heard drunk as a sailor? I mean, come on.
Was he like a neo-prohibition? Actually,
I guess what I have. So what I'm getting at is like, was it reactionary to behavior, or was he just like a teetotaler?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not well versed in that history necessarily, but what I've understood is about 50-50. He was so proactive about this. He thought that this was the devil's drink and everything.
Yeah, okay.
The other thing was they were having a really hard time with, and I mean, there's a book, it's called Lower Georgia Street, the
Lost
Barbary Coast of Vallejo. It was all brothels down in downtown Vallejo, servicing this giant shipyard.
Literally servicing.
Yeah, sorry. Wow, I walked into that one. And honestly, it was similar in Benicia because they had an army facility there, and so he was trying to clean up the neighborhoods around these various naval yards. It was his goal back in the time. So
wow, 5 mile radius. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's also one of those things like you're in the Navy and this order comes through and it's like, what the F?
Yeah, right.
I mean, you're like, what are we going to do?
That's why I joined the Navy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, especially if you're like
and drink the world.
Yeah.
And
especially if it's like generational, you're like, wait a second. My dad told me that this place is great.
Right.
I wonder if like illegal homebrewing took over. Like that's maybe where homebrewing kind of started.
That's probably where some bad hooch happened.
Yeah.
And,
Bruno.
My dad's liver said I needed to be in the Navy.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. I mean, that's all Prohibition did too, isn't it? Just brought it underground.
Exactly.
So there had to just been a whole underground thing.
Yeah, people were making it in their bunkers back, at the those bunkers you were talking about.
Yeah,
where nobody was allowed in.
Yeah,
I'm sure there was no brewing going on in there.
So have you had any of the locals, the people that come visit you that sort of know this history or that were a part of it, come and say, whoa, why are you naming this beer order number 99? We don't like that order.
Yes.
Okay.
I've definitely had people, but they get the tongue in cheek at the end of it for sure.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I mean, I will say there's a few teetotalers out there that are like, we can't believe you're doing this over there. But I would say the vast 99.9% of it are like, this is the spirit of Mare Island. This is exactly what needs to happen out there. And honestly, Sully was talking about before, you go to Alameda, you go to Treasure Island, you go to Hunters Point. So these buildings, they're magnificent, but they're not good for a lot of, it's unique things. They're perfect for breweries. I mean, they are, the floors can be dug up and sloped really easily. They're historic. They're looking out on the waterfront. They're tall. There's 8-ton cranes overhead in some of these breweries inside breweries in these buildings. And so it is, it's ripe for that kind of thing. We have a good friend, Dave Finney, who started a distillery on Mare Island called Savage and Cook. Did an amazing job with these 2 buildings that are down there, an amazing distillery going on down there. So people are discovering this and like, what a perfect reuse of a historic building that there's a lot of things you can't do with it. And this is something you can. So.
Yeah. And of course, they're seeing that on Alameda Island, or otherwise becoming known as Alcohol Island.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, these wonderful buildings and spaces. I'm glad to see something good coming of them. And then I think eventually, like I'm sure you guys think about this all the time, but thinking of how that's going to be even 10 years from now, when more people continue to move in and do things, it becomes kind of a playground again. Go from this sort of war machine to kind of an adult playground, if you will.
Our pithy statement is where they used to make battleships, we now make beer. And
yeah,
that is,
that's pretty dope.
A lot of it is you get people landing in Oakland, San Francisco, they're driving up to Napa for an experience. People used to be all about the wine. Now there's usually someone in a group of 4 who's like, I'd rather drink beer. Mm-hmm. They have a place to stop, and we're, the more the merrier. If we had other breweries in the area or whatever, we don't see it as competition. We see it as rising tide, all boats.
Right. Love it.
And it's fun. We have a loose association with a winery called Vino Godfather and the distillery called Savage and Cook, and we call ourselves the Wet Mile because it's exactly a half mile to walk down one side and come back the other side.
Nice.
And we'd love to have 6 other stops in there where people can stop and kombucha or whatever they want to taste along the way would be super cool. And like Mare Island's, Vallejo's eager for things like this. They're not prohibitionists. They're not like no more growth. They're eager for businesses like this. And Mare Island's like, that'd be a great thing to do with that building over there that used to build torpedoes for submarines. That'd be awesome.
And now the fact that the ferry actually drops off on Mare Island now, so you can literally pick it up in San Francisco, stops over at the ferry terminal, and then deadheads over at Mare Island, and then stop off for the day. So you don't have to drive anywhere and come experience Mare Island from San Francisco. So it was one of the funny things that in 2014 when we started is that I had a whole group of people coming. I'm like, oh, where are you from? And they're like, oh, we actually just came over here from San Francisco for the day because we heard there was a brewery over here. And I was like,
wow.
I did not think that people would actually trip from San Francisco to come over.
But it makes it easy.
But brew tourism. I mean, we all know people. You make good beers in good places. People want to come.
Well, it's the adventure of getting on a ferry and coming over the water. I mean, that's like wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, that's the experience. We're in theater, at the end of the day. So
we tell stories and kiss babies and shake hands.
And to continue the travel log, like there's actually some amazing hiking at the south end of the island that goes around the old ammunition dumps that were down there. Goes up, it's about a mile up the hill. They have this thing called the Spirit Ship, which has got a little panel hanging from every ship that was ever built on Mare Island. 360-degree view. You can see back to San Francisco and everything. So you can come down. You can go for a long hike. There's a cemetery down there with 3 Medal of Honor winners in it. You can go get a shot of whiskey.
Francis Scott Keys is buried there.
Oh, wow.
And so, I mean, it's a little bit, you have to kind of come find it. You got to do a little bit of research. It's not super obvious. But you can come spend a day doing some cool stuff and just walk around and see the guys staring at a building and say, "Did you used to work here?"
And they'll tell you their story.
That's exactly. As soon as you said that, I was like, I really want to run into one of those guys and just ask what's
awesome.
up. It's easy.
Are you running for mayor, by the way?
Yeah,
because you should be.
No. He's already the president of the Historical Society.
I can affect more through beer and business. I could ever do
you're probably right about that.
That is true.
Well, before we have to go, I do want to say that the beer is wonderful.
It is nice.
The general order. And I'm not a big barrel-aged guy. And for some of the reasons you already mentioned, like I don't want that big boozy kick usually, which this does not have. It has a nice chocolate character to it, but also it's nuanced, as you mentioned. I've been sipping it while you guys talking, and if you let it dry out in the palate a little bit, then I'm picking up the oak. and I think a little bit of that fruit from the Pinot, right?
You do get fruit. You get a little bit of vanilla. I mean, it's also nice because it's a porter, so it's not going to knock your socks off. So it's got a lean, like malt character to it, but it's really nice. It's bright. It's actually very bright for a beer.
Like I personally, I'm not a cigar guy, but I mean, this is a cigar beer at the end of the day. It just feels, the other thing too, this is our fall 2021, so it really only has 8-9 months on age. Like, if I should have dusted off some of our spring 2015 that have been in there for 7 years. I mean, the beers are actually just phenomenal about how well, really? Dark beers obviously age very well, but just the barrel aging of the Pinot aspect and the whiskey together, it really does age and lay down nicely.
Yeah, this you can tell this is it's a little young.
It's young,
but I mean, it's going to lay down very nicely.
Yeah, really like it. All the beers have been great today. And so
super clean.
I do like it when a brewery comes in and kind of tells me their philosophy and kind of how they started, and then the beer actually reflects that. Because you guys kind of have come in saying, we do like some classic styles. We don't need to go crazy here or there. We like balance. We like and all of the beers represent that as well. So not just are you doing well with the story lining up, but the beer fits what you're talking about. I can't tell you how often brewers come in and it just whatever they say does not fit what's in my glass. Gosh, and it's not all of them. Don't get me wrong. There's so many great breweries, but when you do this for long enough, you run into a lot of that.
I'm gonna have to start listening next week to see if we get canned on that.
These guys from Mare Island,
I'll be like,
great storytellers.
They just tell
the beer was amazing. The storytelling was, oh my god,
no. Not at all. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming in and sharing.
This is awesome. I'm really excited. This is a really good show.
We really appreciate you guys having us come in and tell the story, and that's the biggest thing at the end of the day is these are stories that need to be told, and we're all going to drink the beers. So the more spotlight we can get on with great beer of people coming into Vallejo and knowing that there's more things there than Six Flags and and the 80 going by. Yeah, it's I know we've got a vast network listening now, but it's I think that's what beer has to be about, your community. That's Kent actually got me a good book when we were starting this, the Great Good Place.
Correct.
The Great Good Place, and that's basically been kind of the starting ethos of what we don't need to be something. We just need to be good in our great place that we're at.
And the goal is that the community is to come together in these public houses, and that's where you tested your theories. That's where you had to stand up for yourself. It wasn't an echo chamber of what the internet has become and everything. And I think that my hat goes off to you. I think that's what you've done here. I think that's what you've done at 21st Amendment. That's what we're trying to do with beer in general, is to get people to interact, to maybe soften some of their harder views and to learn from one another. And that's a huge mission of ours.
I love it.
Well, your mission's been great. I mean, now I want to go there. You've done a compelling job of honestly getting me excited about your beer and your story. And I can't believe I haven't been there yet. And
well, you have to pass by me to get there, so we're going together, Sully.
I get in the car, let's go.
I got to tell a funny story about how I first met Sully the first time.
Oh boy!
Yeah, here we go. Buckle up. I'm gonna hold some punches. But so it was actually back in 2013 when I was working at Lagunitas, and I just switched over from the wine industry and trying to figure out the whole professional side of brewing. I know CIPs, I know pumps, I know caustics, and everything. It was how does the professional brewing side work out? And so we hear on the day, 21st Amendment's going to be coming through, Sean Sullivan's coming, Jeremy's going to be giving, a tour, because I'm not sure what you guys were I think it was for San Leandro when you guys were doing some research on that. And so, So, there was a day shift and we had 3 brewers on the deck. And so Sean comes in and introduced himself, super nice. Matter of fact, I was just cleaning my basement last weekend and found your card. And it was from that time, and it just sparked the story. And so funny you're here today.
That's cool.
So anyway, Jeremy brings you in and you introduce yourself, very nice, and hands your card out. And then Jeremy left for a second to go get some in his office, and you turn around and are like, "All right, so if any of this is not working out for any of you guys, give me a call. And really great meeting you guys. This place is awesome. You guys got a really nice place here and everything." And then Jeremy came back in and you tightened up.
You went right back
came right back into so it was a Rolex, right? And we're talking about the 250 barrel.
Sully, I love
it. And that was my intro to Sully. And so
I showed up to poach brewers apparently.
That was just a side project.
And I gotta say, hats off to you. You've done a fantastic job on that. Never got to work for you, but it was It's definitely been a story along the journey here where I was like, I know Sully very briefly. Now I know you better. And
I was probably kidding in all defense.
I don't know. We lost 2 brewers the next week. So I don't know.
That's weird. Sully gained 2. I don't know what happened.
It's funny how that works. Actually, I just heard from Jeremy this morning, as a matter of fact.
Jeremy's great.
Yeah, he's a great person.
Yeah. So I mean, it was the funny thing was it was so tongue in cheek, but at the same time,
I
might be kidding.
Nobody.
Or maybe not.
You did keep the card.
I did keep the card. I did keep the card.
It was a valuable message.
Hey, Sully's a Bay Area guy you don't want to not have contact with. So, really good to share the mic with you and to be able to chat with you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that story too.
All right, folks. Well, thank you again for being here. You can go check out more, like I said, about Mare Island, and of course, find out where to get it at mareislandbrewingco.com. There's a shop button on there, and you can find out about private events and everything else. Go to mareislandbrewingco.com. I'm sure you can find them on social media as well. All right. Thanks again to our sponsor today, More Beer, for always supporting us and keeping us here. Thanks to our friends and sponsors at the 21st Amendment.
Thank you.
But Sully, mostly thanks for coming and hanging out and doing the show.
Dude, I love coming in here and hanging out with you, especially with great guests like this.
And it's always just more fun to have you. And we're getting back to a more regular schedule of things, so you're going to keep getting that from me. Teresa Pasuti also is my rotating co-host. She's going to be in with us
great.
On the next show. And on the next show, like I mentioned, actually, she's going to be on the one after that. On the very next show we have is going to be Jamil Zainashev.
I opened a brewery and I'm going to talk about it.
It's going to be an exclusive.
I'm very excited to. I hung out with him for the first time in a couple years, just a couple weeks ago. And I just said, look, man, you got to get back on the show.
Is he doing okay?
So he's doing fine. He's doing just fine.
Well, I guess we'll hear all about it.
You'll hear all about it. You'll hear as much as he's allowed to tell me. Yeah,
it's give him a little pause.
Yeah. And then his friend from True Symmetry Brewing is going to come on the show with him as well. So that's coming up soon. And then later on in the month, we've got Seven Stills out of San Francisco.
And that's when Teresa will be here.
That's when Teresa's going to be here. Yeah. Seven Stills Brewing and Distilling is going to be on the show.
San Francisco, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And I think they've done a lot of growth over the end of the pandemic year. So we're going to find out about that too. All right, Ryan, Kent, thank you again. I hope the next time I see you is at your brewery. I want to come check it out. Yeah, we'll come make a day out of it. I want to explore that island like you advised.
Thanks for having us.
I want a tour, and I'll hand out my card.
Absolutely. You're not allowed in the production.
Don't leave him alone with the brewers.
Matter of fact, we've got some of our brewers out in the tap room. I'm going to make. Hey, no.
Yeah.
They're all jumping up. They want to see you, Sully.
Yeah. All right, folks. We will see you next time here on the session. Thanks for hanging out with us. Take care of yourselves and your beer. The Session is a production of the Brewing Network and brought to you by More Beer. Check them out at morebeer.com. Find more content and live video of this show on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Brewing Network. For sponsorship opportunities and information, please reach out to advertising@thebrewingnetwork.com. To reach our hosts, contact feedback@thebrewingnetwork.com.